For today's presentation, we're going to be looking at party era. And really what we mean by this is we're looking at large swaths of American history that have been dominated by specific political parties as kind of our governmental system progresses throughout history. So when we look at party organizations, how does a party organization work? So we've got the National Convention. This is the supreme power within each party. And the National Convention is going to play a big role in determining who the president is. They're going to be able to determine a whole bunch of things. So one of the big things that they do is they write the party platform. The party platform is a set of beliefs that are discussed every 4 years. And that is going to be the large basis for what each candidate within that party is going to revolve their policy around. Now, obviously, each candidate is going to have certain things that they disagree with within that party platform, but on the whole, that platform describes what that party believes. They nominate candidates for president. They nominate candidates for vice president. The National Committee is composed of representatives, keeps the party running between conventions. So this is like when we talk about the party, these are the people that actually work for that convention. They work for that party, and they do, basic day-to-day things. They hire staff, they raise money, they pay party bills, they attend to the daily duties of the party to keep that infrastructure in place so that as members of the party need assistance or need guidance on types of policies, or they need to be connected to other people within the party, this is the actual organization that is responsible for doing those things. So a party era is a delineation of time in which a single party is the majority party for a long period of time. And throughout the history of our country, there are definitely parties that dominate large swaths of history. When we change from one party dominating to another party dominating, that's known as a critical election. And this is an election that has new issues that divide the electorate in different ways, that may destroy a party, that may help create a new party, and we see those types of things happen a variety of times throughout our history. After a critical election, something called party realignment takes place. Party realignment is a rare event and normally takes place after a major crisis in the country. Things like the Civil War, the Great Depression, things like that. So from 1796 to 1824, we have the first parties in American history. And these are parties that we've talked about before within our class. So we've got the Federalist Party is the first party that really has presidential power. And now, obviously, prior to this, we've got the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists who are fighting over whether or not the Constitution should be passed and how much power should exist within the state level and the federal level and things of that nature. But the Federalist Party is the first party that really has any sort of presidential power. The Federalist Party is formed by John Jay, Alexander Hamilton, and James Madison. It was designed to support strong national government that would help run the government after the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. The party fades after Adams lost his bid for re-election in 1800. You still have some Federalist judges, you still have some Federalist congressmen and things like that, but they really never achieve any sort of real power again after Adams loses. The other big party of this time period that opposes the Federalist Party are the Democratic Republicans, or sometimes they're referred to as the Jeffersonians. The Democratic Republicans looked at agrarian interests rather than capitalist interests, and this party fell as they tried to focus on everyone. And you can't please everybody. You've got to have a kind of a core viewpoint as to who should be represented and who you are trying to advocate for. Otherwise, your party kind of disappears and dissipates. So what we see as we move into the next era of political domination, we have the Democrats and the Whigs, and the Democrats are the ones who really take over during this time period. Jackson originally runs for office as a Democratic Republican, but after his election to the presidency, he drops the Republican part of the name and becomes just the Democrats. His idea is that he wanted to focus on those from the West and those from the South, and believed in stamping out elitism and listening to the masses. He felt that the educated and the rich had way too much of a say about what was going on within the government, and that it needed to be left to the everyday people, the people that were most affected by the policies, to try and make those decisions. And he really did truly believe in the power of the masses, and believed that every single one of us as individuals have the ability to have an influence on what happens within the government. The opposition to this party is the Whig Party. The Whig Party pushed policies in the industry in the North and for Southern planters. Now, if we've learned anything through American history, if we've learned anything about talking about regional differences, is the idea that you can get Northern industrialists and Southern planters to agree on anything is a huge, monumental undertaking. And the reason why they're able to be successful with this, for the most part, is because all of them hated the common people. The rich industrialists and the Southern planters all felt that they had a much higher place within society and felt that the common man had no place in really having any sort of say of what happened within the government. So their united hatred of most people, or regular people, is what brought these two groups together that are generally diametrically opposed to each other. Then we've got 1860 to 1928, and these are the Republican eras. The first Republican era began in the 1850s. The Republicans were known as the Anti-Slavery Party, and we have to remember that during this time period, the Republicans are the liberal party. The Republicans are those that are pushing for social change within the government. The Republican Party was able to obtain such strong support in the North that Lincoln was able to win the presidency in 1860 without carrying a single Southern state, which is one of the things that pushes the South to feel that they were legally justified in leaving the country going into the Civil War. The second Republican era began in 1896, when Republicans pushed for a gold standard rather than a silver standard. Republicans reigned supreme until the stock market crash in 1929, and we're not going to talk a whole bunch about the gold standard debate and silver standard debate, because it's something that should have been covered when you took American history, and to be honest with you, it's not the most interesting topic in the world. From 1932 to 1964, we get the New Deal Coalition. The New Deal Coalition was reinforced by FDR and formed by Democrats. Because of the unbelievable poor nature of the country during the Great Depression, the Democratic Party putting into effect the New Deal plans that were really put in place to kind of impact everyone and help everyone really had a major impact on the success of the party. And because of how bad the country is during this time period, it unites a lot of people towards a common goal that normally would not have worked together on anything. We've got urban dwellers shifting from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party because they see the value and help that's coming along with the New Deal. Labor unions began to staunchly support the Democratic Party. Catholics and Jews began to strongly support the Democratic Party. Jews continue to largely support the Democratic Party, but Catholics generally are Republicans because of the strong conservative social values that the Republican Party generally has. The poor started to overwhelmingly support the Democratic Party because the plans that were being put in place by the New Deal directly impacted them and helped them out. Racial minorities began to overwhelmingly support the Democratic Party, largely because of the same programs that existed for the poor. And Southerners continued to support the Democratic Party because it's the party that they had always supported. This time period is characterized by social progressivism. Southerners also support the Democratic Party because, once again, they're largely negatively hit by the Great Depression and different things like that. So a lot of the programs that are put in place also benefit them. Then from 1968 to the present, we have a system now that's referred to as divided government. And very rarely do we have it to where we have the presidency, the Senate, and the House of Representatives all line up to where it's all the same political party. And when you look at those eras in which we talk about party domination, it means that those parties really, really, really dominated everything within the government when it comes to all three branches and everything like that. So the fact that they're able to do that is a major deal, especially when it comes to the passage of laws and things like that we've talked about all in that process. But today we have largely, most of the time, have what's referred to as divided government, in which at least one part of the Congress and the presidency don't line up. So like right now, we have a divided government because we have a Democratic president and we have a Congress, both in the House and the Senate, that are dominated by the Republican Party. At the very beginning of Obama's presidency, we did not have a divided government because the House, the Senate, and the presidency were all Democratic. But as we look at it throughout the last 40 or 50 years, for the most part, except for rare circumstances, it's very rare that the Democratic Party or the Republican Party are able to dominate all three of those positions.